Welcome to Couple Chat. I'm Matt.
I'm Jackie, and this is Nate.
He's back, everybody. We had a long, busy day, so Nate got to sleep in the car.
Yeah.
So yeah, right, Nate?
Right?
So
Yeah.
he's awake right now, but that's okay. He'll be asleep, hopefully.
We'll see.
Anyway, so today we're doing something a little different. The Last of Us Part 2 is coming out on June 19th.
Mm-hmm.
They finally released the date a couple of weeks ago. And because of that, Jackie, for the first time ever, decided to play the first game.
Mm-hmm.
I've already played it when the game first came out in 2013. So she's never played it. She is a gamer. But this is the first time she's played a game like this.
Yes.
And I'll be honest, I was pretty blown away. She did a pretty damn good job. Especially for, playing a game of this caliber. I don't think so. Good job.
Thanks.
Good job. But anyway, because of that, we thought we would do a review of the game. Not a review, obviously. Last of Us is a masterpiece. And probably one of the greatest pieces of what would you say? Pieces of work, pieces of art that has come out in the last, 20 years, maybe longer. But anyway, besides that point, we just want to talk about the game, get a little hyped ourselves for the second one. Now that she's finished it, we've discussed it a little bit ourselves, but figured it would be the perfect opportunity to discuss on Couple Chat.
Yeah.
So, you want to talk about your impressions of the game, what you liked, all that kind of jazz?
Well,
How was to play it?
what I was thinking was kind of getting your perspective of how it was when the game first came out.
All right, so you want me to talk about that first?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, this way it kind of gets the perspective of a first-time player as opposed to someone like me.
So, I mean, it's hard to remember all the things, but, one thing I can say, which really, saddens me a little bit, but I haven't played The Last of Us since it came out. Hey, Justin, what's up?
Hey, Justin. Welcome. We miss you.
So back in 2013, that is the last time I actually physically myself picked up a controller to play The Last of Us.
Crazy.
When the PS4 was released and they came out with The Last of Us Remastered, I bought it and I've had it and I've played the beginning of it a little bit. I think I've played through the intro a handful of times more than I've ever played the game itself. So, because of that, watching Jackie play it, I actually was originally like, okay, I need to play Last of Us again. No problem, dude.
Sounds good.
Don't worry. Obviously, we're not going to talk much about Last of Us Part 2 because we don't know that much about it yet. It hasn't come out yet. But we are talking Last of Us.
Yeah.
So people who haven't played Last of Us, you're crazy. But there might be some spoilers. I mean, it's not really that big of a deal. Again, the game's been out since 2013.
Hi, Jack.
Hey, Jack. How are you? So anyway, when I first played the game, I was blown away. From the opening scene, half an hour into the game, I won't lie, I was bawling my eyes out. It's one of the most tragic introductions to a character ever.
Yeah.
Seeing Joel as his daughter, it sets up the whole plot of the game, but it's so tragic and you feel so much for him. And seeing it now, we miss you too, man.
Miss you too.
We miss the shows. It sucks. But one day we'll be back.
We can't wait for you to meet him.
Yeah.
He needs to meet Santa.
But anyway, so yeah, that opening just blows my mind. Forget about Up, Last of Us. Anyway, so then, the game jumps 20 years later, which is mind-boggling. I actually forgot that it jumped that far ahead. I thought maybe it was 10 years. But then when she was playing it and it went 20 years later, I was like, what? 20 years? And yeah, so that in itself is mind-boggling. But I remember,
Hi, Ryan.
what's up, Ryan? I remember playing the game and just moment after moment, they just get you every time.
I'm trying not to. I'm sorry.
She's had a long day.
Yes.
But yeah, so I mean, moment after moment was just amazing. And then by the time you get to the end of the game, mind blown. Like, they make it seem like you have a choice when you're Joel in the hospital and you have to save Ellie or let her die, but you don't. And that's what's so interesting. You don't save her. Or I'm sorry, you don't have a choice to save her. You just have to. The only choice you have is kill everyone in the room or just kill the doctor. But regardless of the fact, you take her, and this is the decision Joel has come to make over the course of this game. And like, you kind of agree with him, but at the same time you don't, because I mean, he had the opportunity to save humanity and he may have just thrown that out the window. So I mean, that in itself, just the ending of this game blew my mind. And then they even give you one last hope for Joel to like redeem himself when Ellie asks him if he was telling the truth, and he says he was. It's so hard to like feel for his character when he does things like that. And that's amazing. I love things like that when you play as a protagonist that, is he good? Is he bad? Like, it's so hard to tell. And then you have Ellie that's right in the middle, that she's learning from him, and she doesn't have a family, she doesn't have anyone. So, he sees Sarah in him, and just all those things blew my mind when I first played the game. And seeing that ending, it was such a well-rounded game that didn't need sequels, didn't need anything after the fact. And then they had the DLC Left Behind, which was great backstory to understand who Ellie was. But ultimately, Last of Us, the first game as a whole, was just one of the greatest experiences I've ever had. And I didn't forget anything about the game. From the time that has gone by, I still talk about it, and I still reference scenes in the game. Now, when I thought I did remember a lot of it, watching Jackie play, obviously there's little nuances here and there that I may have forgotten. But for the most part, like, she got to the giraffe scene and towards the end of the game. She got to the scene where Nolan North's character tries to kill and rape Ellie. Like, all these things, like, of course I remembered them, but seeing them again, finally, after all these years, was just so crazy. But anyway, so that was my, like, first impressions of Last of Us. Now, we're really here to figure out how Jackie felt about playing this game for the first time after all these years. Especially because back in the day, when I used to play...
Sorry.
Bottle the sequel?
Bottle number 2.
When I used to play games, Jackie never really watched back in the day. She only started watching maybe when we got our projector. And that's...
We're talking... Sorry, Jack. We're talking about Last of Us. It's a video game I just finished playing.
But I think Jackie started watching me play when we got our projector, because once we had our projector, I was never playing a game on anything else but that, because it's just, it changes the experience. It feels like you're playing a video game in a movie theater. So I guess around 2014 was when she started watching me play, which is hilarious because Last of Us came out in 2013, right before we moved, and yeah, now she's watched me play so many different games, and her herself have played more games since then. But it's been a while since we've just had the opportunity to play Last of Us, and now here it is again. And yeah, I'm not going to play it again, right now at least. I watched her play it. It was a great experience being the passenger for a change, sitting by and watching somebody else play a game I love. Mm-hmm. And I tried my best to like hold off on saying things or like getting annoyed at situations that like I probably could have done better, because this is the first time she's playing a game like this, So I had to be patient with her, but she also does things differently than I do, and she explores a lot, which she found things that I don't know if I ever did. But either way, she did a pretty damn good job. There were a few moments where I was like really impressed. But anyway, so aside from that, you can now tell us your impressions on playing Last of Us.
So what's crazy about the last time that he played it, you know, it was just a video game concept. It wasn't anything that could be possibly happening now or reflecting of our current or future.
Not something we'd even ever
events.
think that would be real.
But the way that this game correlates to everything that's going on right now, I mean, like, they quarantine people. They talk about how the hospitals are running out of space.
Mm-hmm.
They're talking about how, like, they can't keep up. They can't find a vaccine. Like, all this crazy stuff.
The whole game is about using Ellie to find a vaccine.
Right. And it's all about, like,
crazy.
the human species surviving. And
Right.
it's, like, right now, playing it during this time, it's crazy. Because, again, like you said, it hops 20 years in the future. So, there's movies, posters, and, like, storefronts and all these things that are around the world that they're in that were made 20 years in the past. So if we think about right now what exists, what would be in our 20 years in the future if this were to occur, you know?
Right.
Like posters we're seeing all over the place, or if movie
That would
theaters
just
are
be
even
stuck
existing
there.
anymore.
Forever.
Yeah. It's crazy to me. Can I have that? So that he...
This?
Yeah. But it's just crazy to think that, he realized it's not a nipple. Sorry, buddy. There's no more milk.
Okay.
Sorry about that. But yeah, so for me to be able to play the game during a time where it's like the beginning of this game, where it's the beginning of a quarantine situation, where you're not sure who's sick and who's not, and everyone, it's crazy. There's this one part where you see everyone getting like scanned, like they're doing the temperature readings at all these places that we're going to, like the doctors and certain places, like Disney Springs is opening up and they're doing the scan and whatever. It's scary to me to see it in a video game, what's going on out here. And then they're going to the ultimate extreme where they're like, oh, they're infected, let's shoot them now. Because, you know, this virus does spread quickly. That's in the game. That's pretty frightening. Coming from the perspective that I'm coming from, because I'm playing it during a pandemic. It's, you know, it's basically what they call it in the game. And dealing with that, it's kind of crazy. Hello, baby boy. Hello, baby boy. Hello. What's daddy doing? What's daddy doing? Are you standing? Ultimate. No, Mom. Not having it.
Bam, 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 bam.
Hello. Hi. Anyway, so yeah, that was really cool and scary at the same time. I thought, you know, they did a really good job portraying that in a game that was made how many years ago. No one thought that this would actually happen. No one even knew, you know, this wouldn't be controlled if it ever did come about.
There was a moment in the game where there are abandoned buses, and inside one of the buses was like a letter that a kid wrote. And
it's a school bus.
Yeah. A school bus, right.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how, oh, there's no school anymore because of the pandemic and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Like, it's so weird. It's so weird. This game was in 2013, and they got so much right. There was, you know, CDC papers that you find, you know, that talks about how the quarantine was put into place. Like, Naughty Dog did their research, you know. I wouldn't even be surprised if they called the CDC and was like, hey, so if a quarantine was to take place, how would it occur? I wouldn't be surprised if... So The Last of Us was originally supposed to come out mid-May, like maybe a week ago.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if the reason why they pushed it back was because there's going to be things in this game that talk about this pandemic and go further on the fact that it's going on 20 plus years later.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a sore subject for a few people, and they didn't want fans to be thinking about it since, you know, games, movies, books, it's supposed to be escapism. Well, this is more realistic than we're thinking, so...
But no, it's really. I mean, a lot of this stuff is sad. Like you find notes in the games. So okay, like he was saying before, I'm an explorer. So I'm the type of person that I want to search every nook and cranny. I need to find all the artifacts, which are the letters and whatever notices and stuff. I want to find all the pendants. I want to find everything I can just to make sure like I'm getting the full 360 experience. And a lot of the letters, I mean, one of the letters is a husband who was separated from his wife with it, and he had their daughter with him. And he's like, oh, Hannah's really excited to see you, and, we hope everything's okay on your side. Phones aren't working, so I had to write a letter, and it's, like, kind of crazy, but hope everything's okay. And I found it in, like, a suitcase that was ripped open and left in a quarantine zone processing center. So it's pretty crazy. We hope to see you soon, too. And I hope for Santa pictures, please. Even if we have to do it remotely. But yeah, it's crazy how this whole thing could correlate. It's like a parallel to what's going on right now. Sorry, Justin said a big thing. Wait. Love listening to you talk about Last of Us. Going to be tough for me to hold on to playing the second game. The MPS4 is stuck in the city. Oh, man. Anyway, it's great to see you all and Jackie out. Yeah, exactly. No, I love exploring games. Like, I also started playing Uncharted. Well, I always explore too much in that, and I find, like, the little treasures and go crazy doing that. But
somebody's listening.
I'm sorry that your PS4 is locked in the city.
Dude, you gotta figure that out, man.
Yeah.
You gotta figure that out. Because couple chat, what is it? The Tuesday after Last of Us comes out.
Matt will finish in 2 days. So.
Whoa, chill.
The reason why I was playing it was, I was like, ugh, I don't know how long it'll take me to play it.
Because you mean the reason why you started playing it now? Like a month before.
The reason why I started playing it in May was because I was like, oh my god, I'm afraid if it's going to take me forever. We have Nathan, I'm working from home. We have a lot going on. Regardless of if it's quarantine or not, we still have, other stuff that we're doing. So it was crazy to me that I was going to play this long game. I was like, oh my god, Uncharted, Last of Us is like all these hours. I'm going to spend so much time and I'm going to lose track and whatever. And I'm not going to be able to finish it in time. So I was like, let's play it a month early. This way I can play like an hour a night. Well, it turned out it took me a week.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I would play like 5 hours a night.
There were honestly nights where I was like, all right, Jackie, gonna keep going. Like she could tell you, there were nights where I was falling asleep.
Oh, he passes out.
I actually did fall asleep a couple times.
Oh, yeah.
I never missed anything important, but like...
No, because usually I'm exploring.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Puke?
Yep.
Oh,
yeah. Down your pants. You can't see it.
Follow it. Which, funny, very important thing.
So,
Last of Us Part 2 is coming out the weekend of my first Father's Day.
Isn't that epic?
It is. That's all I'll be doing the weekend.
But yeah, I think overall, like, it was pretty interesting to see how our world could kind of crumble. And how dependent we were on... Or how dependent they were on, like, technology and the government and all this stuff. And they trusted it all, and it all fell apart. Yeah. And you kind of see, like, that disintegration over the 20-year time. And then the game is over a year. So it goes from winter to winter. And you kind of see, like, the toll it takes on them for the 1 year of traveling around and kind of going crazy. Trying to survive, which is really cool. Yeah, you like that hand, don't you? You like that hand?
Ta-da!
But yeah, so that's what I thought about the game overall.
Cool. So yeah, I mean,
so what were your favorite moments?
My favorite moments. Well, it's so funny because while she was playing, I knew when certain things were coming up, and I was like, or, I tried to keep it to myself, but there were certain parts where I was like, or like I'd be like kind of tired, but I knew she was like getting to the end of a major part, and I was like, okay, she could go to bed after this. Sometimes she didn't, but after this, I was like, that would be the moment to go to bed. And like I'd be falling asleep, and then I'm like, oh, she's getting to that moment, so I like sit up and like get ready, like, oh yes. But yeah, I mean, obviously the beginning of the game is probably just one of the best moments in the whole game, just because it sets up everything so perfectly, and it sets up the emotion that the game builds. So I mean, for me, that's definitely one of the best moments. Then you know, as you go through the game, I would say the next part that I was like just blown by even this time is when Ellie saves Joel for the first time and shoots that guy in the hotel. See, and again, that was one of those moments that I knew was coming, and I was like, because I think I even remember I was like, oh, I think this is that moment, and then I was like, oh no, it's not. But then it wound up being that moment.
Yeah.
So that part is just great. You know, just it shows their depth and how they change. Like in that moment of the game, it's like they're not even like, Joel's not thinking of her as like this daughter yet. He was more like just trying to protect her innocence, and like
she's a burden too.
Yeah, for sure. And he didn't trust like that she could protect him and things like that.
Right.
And finally he lets her have this rifle to protect her. So yeah, that part's pretty great. I mean, what about you?
I mean, my most emotional reactions. So obviously the beginning is just terrifying. As a parent now, it's crazy how things affect you now that there's a baby in the world that shares your name and your blood and things.
That's okay. He's happy with us.
Is he?
Yeah.
But yeah, the beginning is just terrifying, especially because like the soldier didn't even bother to listen or ask. And
he did it. He did his job.
Yeah,
he didn't want to.
Scary.
That's the scariest part. Is like he didn't want to.
Well, that's why the human element doesn't exist anymore. Like they kind of beat it out of them by making them kill all these innocent people when they're infected. It's kind of like they've brainwashed them, which is scary.
So what other moments?
And then there was another moment. So, spoiler alert. At one point in the game, you become Ellie, and you know, I like finding the artifacts.
Well, it's funny. I remember how like throughout the game, you know, Joel has this bow and arrow, and Jackie's like, she's not using it. And she's like, do I need to use this? And I'm like I said, I was trying so hard to be like, all right, don't tell her anything, just let her do her thing. So I'd be like, I mean, you know, just if you don't want to use it, don't use it. It's up to you. You don't have to use things. But I knew that was coming. I knew that moment was coming where she was going to be forced to use it because that's what Ellie has.
Yeah.
And then what's really funny is after Jackie was forced to use it, then she started using it throughout the rest of the game.
Well, yeah, because it's great when you don't want to have a clicker hear you or a bloater come on by. Like, it was pretty good for those things. But yeah, I liked becoming Ellie, but the part that really hit me was, so Joel has his backpack of things and his artifacts that he's picked up and what have you. Well, Ellie has a backpack too, and Ellie has her own things in there. She has...
That's the greatest part about becoming her. You learn a little more about her by seeing what's in her backpack.
Yeah, and there's this letter from her mother to the head Firefly, who she leaves Ellie with, and I was in tears. And Matt looked at me and goes, really? After everything that's happened before this is the thing that makes you cry? And it's like, yeah, you know.
Yeah, because she's over here looking at me while I'm like,
I don't care.
Nothing. And she's like, all right.
I like that he gets emotional. It's kind of cute. But no,
I care
like
about Ellie and Joel.
and it's sweet that you care about that. But those were my 2 favorite moments. Like everything that happened with Sarah was so sad and hard for Joel to deal with, and me, obviously, because I couldn't imagine a future like that. And then the letter that Ellie's mom wrote to her, it's so sweet. Like, it's everything and anything I would say to my kid. And I would hope that Nate would carry that around in a backpack if it ever came to that. But, yeah, those are my 2 top moments. Trying to think if I had any other moment.
I mean, for me, and I think you really like this moment too, but, so after Ellie has this tragedy happen to her where she's kidnapped by these cannibals and almost, like, raped or something by the head one, like, he was just creeping us out. But after that whole traumatic experience, she's just a completely different person, and it shows. They even show it like through gameplay. Yeah. You do this thing throughout the game where Joel lifts Ellie up to higher ground that he can't get to, and she's kind of like sitting on a bench, very melancholy, and he's like, "All right, Ellie, I need you to help me over here," and she doesn't come. But
you don't see that. You just see it from his perspective, which is so cinematic.
Yeah.
And they did a great job making it very touching and cinematic. Like, to feel those feelings for a video game. It's impressive.
But so then at the end of that moment, when she finally does go up and she drops the ladder and she goes, "Oh my God." And then she walks away and Joel can't see where she went. And, you as the player and as Joel are like, "Well, what happened? Is there something wrong? Are there guys up there? Are there clickers? Are there runners?" Like you're freaking out. And I didn't say anything to her, but I, of course, knew already what it was. So Joel puts the ladder up. He goes up there and she's running around like, "Oh, Joel, come on, you got to check it out." And she keeps going. And Joel's like, "What is going on?" So finally it's revealed that there are giraffe roaming, Salt Lake City, I think? Mm-hmm. Because everything's overgrown, the zoos are not being controlled anymore, the animals are walking free, and, these giraffe are just eating grass and leaves off of the sides of buildings and things. And, look, it's you. It's you. You don't see you?
I think he does.
But yeah, and just after her traumatic experience, for her to see something so beautiful in the world and realize that there's still hope, that's a really great moment. And just seeing that, and then you see that bond between her and Joel, where Joel's like, "Come on, come over here, touch the giraffe." It's a really cool moment, and I think you also felt that way, especially because I don't know if you remembered it so much until you saw it again, but yeah, that was great.
No, I did.
And then it all goes to shit right after that, basically.
I mean, it was not as bad as it was before that.
Ellie almost got dissected?
Yeah, but she almost got raped. By a cannibal.
I guess. What's worse?
Rape.
Dying? I guess. But anyway, so I mean, those were our impressions on Last of Us, from the past and from the present.
Yeah.
And now, just a couple, theories that, want to throw around a little bit. Not really theories, but things that we're hoping for or thinking about. I mean, for me, I really, my hopes and dreams are for them not to start the game where Ellie already knows that Joel lied to her. I would rather see that be built up with their characters. I know a lot of movies and games love to do that type of thing where something's already happened and now we have to figure it out as the story goes on.
Flashbacks.
Yeah. I mean, that's fine, but I think that this game deserves us and Ellie to see that for the first time when it happens. And it would only make sense, too, because I think this game is 4 years later. It would only make sense as well that Joel has just completely lied to her all this time. And something occurs where she figures it out. Like, she runs into the fireflies again, or whatever the case is. the Fireflies have been trying to track her down all this time. You know, whatever the case is, I really want to see that moment. I don't want the game to start where it's already happened. You know. You have anything? Any thoughts on Last of Us Part 2? Your hopes and dreams about the game? I've been puked on.
Again.
All over. It's nice and warm.
Gross.
Look at him.
Anyway, my hopes and dreams. I mean, I can already tell that the graphics are definitely 10 times better. You know, and they were already great.
They were, but I was saying this to her. Watching her play it and seeing it on, you know, we have a 100-inch screen. It's just crazy how bad, it doesn't look bad, but how bad it looks compared to today's standards of video games. And that just blows my mind. That I think Last of Us looks bad. Like, I'm blown away. No, not bad, but you know what I mean. Like, look at a game like Red Dead Redemption 2 or Batman Arkham Knight. Like, these games just look photorealistic. They're just so amazing. And I'm trying my best to not look at the things for Last of Us Part 2, but I already know the game looks amazingly better. Amazingly better than the first. And I'm just super excited to see that, you know, to see the changes in the gameplay and the graphics and the environment. Like, Naughty Dog just does such a great job with stuff like that. Like, as much as I didn't like Uncharted 4, it wasn't because of the graphics or the gameplay or the acting. It was really the story. I just felt like that Uncharted 4 was unnecessary. But I'm just saying, like, Naughty Dog themselves, you know, like, they're just so great at building environments and gameplay and yeah, it just works so well. So that I'm really excited for that as well.
I'm really excited for the graphics. I'm really excited to see like how much better it looks.
And the music.
Yeah. But also I'm excited to see where Ellie's story goes. I mean, Joel's obviously an old man now. And I think they're obviously foreshadowing that he is dead or gets sick or what have you. I
think it's inevitable and kind of has to happen.
Yeah.
If they're planning on this to be like a trilogy, which I think that should, I don't know, it lends itself to being a trilogy. I think this second game should focus on the ending of their relationship, and then the last would be like her trying to live life after it.
I think that maybe there might be a twist. A twist that Joel gets bit or infected, and she's gotta maybe save him. That'd be a crazy twist.
What a twist!
But again, we don't know. Like, there's been leaks. We have not looked at the leaks.
No, haven't looked at the leaks. Don't want to look at the leaks.
No.
I saw one thing, and I'm trying to put it out of my head because I'm pissed that I saw it, and I don't even know how or why or what would have occurred to get to that point, but I don't want to know. I don't even want to think about it. I hope it was just BS. Who's a cutie?
Hi.
Who's a cutie?
Hi.
So yeah. But yeah, so that's Last of Us, you know?
Yeah.
We'll be back next Tuesday. We're not sure what we're going to be talking about yet. But if you want to hear more about Last of Us from us, we are going to be discussing it the Tuesday after the second one comes out on June 19th. So, yeah. So if you're interested in The Last of Us and you want to hear us blabber on about it, that would be the next time to return.
We don't blabber. We chat.
Couples. In a couple.
We're a couple
with
that
a baby.
chats. Baby.
Anyway. I'm Matt.
And I'm Jackie. And this is Nate. Say bye, Nate.
Bye, Nate.
Here are the Huns signing out.